I'm just gonna tell y'all. I'm just gonna throw it out there. Y'all remember the last time? Y'all remember the last time the Ravens played the Dolphins and what that started? I'm just saying. Welcome in to the Instant Classic Wrestling Podcast, the only podcast that is always, I mean always, he means always, they mean always, you mean always, she means always, an instant classic.
Danny Dunn! Hi, JJJ.
We will see you on the flippity dippity. Oh yeah.
All right, what is going on, good people? Back at it once again, DJ here. Nobody else here for the Ravens preview, of course, but nonetheless, DJ here from the Instant Classic Wrestling Podcast, the only podcast that is always, and I mean always, an instant classic that occasionally talks football. Well, I should probably say occasionally talks wrestling at this point, but anyway, nonetheless, just in case you're just joining us for the first time, this is a Ravens preview. I'm the resident Ravens fan here. We got a Ravens fan, Browns fan, Chiefs fan, Colts fan. So we ain't even like in the same division. We just made our own division, and we just we picked outside a division, and then we went around the division, and then we ring around the rosy the division. Then we flipped the division upside down. We did all that. But if you ain't never watched before, you probably don't even understand that joke. Nonetheless, the Ravens go up against the Dolphins this week. Last time they played the Dolphins was the blowout victory they had against the Dolphins in 2019, which started the MVP season of Lamar Jackson and a 14-2 season, I think it was. They won those first two games, lost the next two games, and then reeled off 12 straight, I think it was. But was it 12? 12 straight, 10 straight, can't remember. Anyway, Ravens, Dolphins, again, another one in Miami. I don't know. The Dolphins don't ever come to Baltimore. They don't ever come to Baltimore. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about it. They'll never come to Baltimore. But, nonetheless, should be an interesting game coming up on Thursday night, which is why I'm trying to push this one out a little early on Wednesday. But coming into this game, I think the first thing that comes to mind is that you must listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, and et cetera, et cetera. No, that was a joke. Anyway, but you can listen to us on those platforms. You can watch us on Facebook and YouTube, just so you know. But I think the first thing that really comes to mind, though, for real, is offensively. Can the offense get going a little bit faster? I would love to see the Ravens implement some drive starters. We've talked about this with the defense all year. Put the defense in positions to where they can play to their strengths, right? Marcus Peters isn't there, so you don't have this gambler corner out there that can guess and that can keep people in check, that can shut people down. You don't have that. You kind of have, like, Anthony Everett has shown flashes this season. Marlon Humphrey's been okay this season, but like not having Marcus Peters and then not having Deshaun Elliott this week as well, and for the rest of the season, it's going to change some things. So I want to see, first off, defensively, can Wink put the Ravens in the proper positions to do what they need to do? Can he continue that? And, last week they did a pretty okay job of not giving up big plays. The tackling was a little bit better and has been better for like practically the last 2 weeks. Not last 2 weeks, so they were on bye before, but last week at least, coming off the Bengals game where the tackling was horrible. But somehow I skipped to the defensive end. Back to the offensive end, I want Greg Roman to do the same thing, right? Put your guys in positions to win. Easy for me to say. Like, understand that you are missing your top three running backs, and that's okay, right? You still got a top rushing offense in the league somehow, missing your top three running backs, right? I don't know when Latavius Murray's coming back, but he's been injured this season, right? You got offensive line issues. You got offensive line injuries. You've had wide receiver, injuries as well, with Sammy Watkins being out for the last couple of weeks. He's supposed to I know he got brought back into the fold this week, so I don't know if he'll start this week. It'll be in a short weekend, or if he'll come in and have a big role this week, considering it was a short week. I think he's been huge to this offense coming in, just in general. Like, I think, and I talked about it before a couple of weeks ago, I feel like Sammy Watkins gave the Ravens a taste of what a number one receiver, should be. It kind of gave the Ravens another reason why people should be like, okay, we got to focus on, Sammy Watkins is still a good receiver, right? I mean, if you don't want to respect him with your first, second, your first or second corner because you got Hollywood and Mark Andrews out there, then he's going to burn your third corner. He's darn sure good enough to burn your third corner. And that's what's been huge for him. And I think that kind of comes back to the depth that the Ravens have established throughout the offseason with the wide receiver position, right? Because, I mean, when you think about it, you know, last year it was like Hollywood and Mark Andrews, and that was about it, right? Like Duvernay had some decent games in there. Proche had a couple of catches literally last year. But this year it's been the depth, right? It's been the depth at the wide receiver position. It's been the fact that Sammy Watkins has shown great flashes in this offense, great yak ability, almost like inspired the rest of the team, because last year the Ravens were a team that were last in yak yards, and they were first in drops. And I know they were first in drops when it came earlier in the season. I can't remember after what game they said. I think it was the Lions game, if I'm not mistaken. I think they said that the Ravens were top of the league when it came to drops. So they dropped the most passes, is what that mean. I may have that opposite in terms of top and bottom, but nonetheless, like, my thing is, Sammy Watkins has been a huge addition, right? Rashad Bateman, and we felt like he would be, right? Rashad Bateman has been a chain mover, which is exactly what the Ravens have needed. Speaking of things that the Ravens are going to have to work on, third down percentage, right? Third down percentage. And I think it has something to do, and I don't, you know, I'm guessing at this point. I don't know the official stat or anything, or I don't even know the percentages, but, you know, just watching, you know, from the eye test, shout out to regular Ravens fans, just trusting my eyes. From what I see, third down percentage is terrible, right? And I think they've talked about it just in the games in general, but the third down percentage is terrible. And I think that has a lot to do with the Ravens are backed up on third down, which they're not used to being. They're not used to having to attack from third and long, you know, third and 10, third and 15, you know, and farther than that. Like, they're not used to having to attack that way. But at the same time, the Ravens, I feel like, have changed their approach on how they attack third and long, though, which I think is good because I think it'll pay dividends, right? I talked about it in past videos, in past years, even last year. I was talking about how the Ravens have to learn how to win close games because they weren't used to being in close games last year. So they did that, and this year we're seeing them come back and win games because if you're not used to being down, you don't know how to respond to that. You can't run the same offense you run when you're up as opposed to when you're down, right? It just doesn't make sense, right? So in the same way, the Ravens are having to learn how to execute these third and long situations. And I think that's why the offense is starting so slow. I would love to see, kind of back to my initial point that I never made, but I would love to see the Ravens come out and have some drive starter type plays. I talked about it in the recap. I talked about it in the picks last night on the Baltimore Colts show, which we can go watch and check out what we thought about the rest of the league coming into this week. Like, for me, they got to have some drive starters. You know, they got to run some screens, right? It's okay to run more than the one screen a month that the Ravens fans have joked for so long. That's been like the quota because it feels like it, right? They ran I want to say it was a third and long, and they ran a screen with Hollywood. It was either last week. I think it was last week, which was a really big play. They ran a play. Who was it? I know they hit that little check down to Patrick Ricard, which I'm not saying that and he was like just short or whatever, but you know, even that, like a check down with room to run is still a good play, right? I'm not mad about a check down with room to run. So I think like if they could get some plays like that, you know, run some screen plays with the running backs, right? Let them get involved in the passing game a little bit more and see what you can do there. And the reason that I say that is if you're not going to have success running the ball, you don't have to give up on running the ball, but also you can establish the offense in several different ways. If you can move the chains a couple times, and that's the thing, that's what we're seeing in the second half. We're finally seeing the Ravens move the chains by hook or by crook, by any means necessary, right? If it's Lamar running on a scramble play, it's Lamar running on a scramble play. If it's a big run on second down, it's a big run on second down. If it's a big play down the field, it's a big play down the field. If it's one of those comeback routes by Hollywood where he runs backwards and runs forward, that's what it is, right? If it's a big play to Sammy Watkins, if it's a big play to Rashad Bateman, you know, that's what they're doing, right? And I think use what they're doing in the second half as a catalyst to boost yourself in the first half. Because for me, when I watch the Ravens play, they're starting slow because they're getting behind, right? And we talk about getting behind on the scoreboard, not even in that regard, right? They're getting behind on the six. Penalties is another one where I haven't seen as many illegal formations this year. I still think there's been a good bit of them, but I haven't seen as many illegal formations this year. But at the same time, the Ravens have been doing a better job when it comes. It feels like when it comes to penalties, but like they still have those costly penalties, right? They have the costly hold, the costly false start. Because I think, was it the Bengals game when they were moving down the field? I think it was. They were down. It was still a game at the point, and they had an opportunity to move the ball down the field, and they freaking sat there and got like 2 false starts, I think it was, and backed themselves up into a horrible situation on, I want to say it was 4th down, if I'm not mistaken. But I mean, the Ravens just got to continue to put themselves ahead. Don't be like, this has been the year for the Ravens offense, especially, of taking chances, right? They've been throwing the ball down the field more than anybody in the league, number one, but also at the same time, and they have been successful with it, but they've been throwing the ball down the field just in general more than they have in years prior, which is good, right? Take some chances. Ravens fans have talked about this too with blue in the face, right? Like, take some chances with some jump balls. Take some chances with some seam routes. Take some chances with some back shoulder throws. It's okay to take some chances on some things you maybe haven't executed in a game before if you need to do those things. And we've seen kind of this offense mature right before our eyes. But I think some of the reason why the offense looks so much better is because of the injuries. Like the J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, Justice Hill injuries were unfortunate. But I think, I heard Ingraven talking about this earlier on his preview, or even I think it was actually on a Questions from Subscribers type video. But I heard him talking about this, and he was like, it's kind of like a blessing in disguise. I feel like it's a blessing in disguise. He was kind of like, that's probably why, the injuries are probably the reason why there's so many different plays. There's different wrinkles into the offense that weren't there before because they've been forced into this position. Now, will that stay for the long term? I don't know. I hope so, because I think a good balance next year would be amazing, right? If they can move the football down the field like they have as far as passing the ball, but also have a pretty lethal run game, it could be huge next year. Now, back to this one in particular, offensively, against this Dolphins defense who can be a little stingy sometimes, and who can, who try to turn people over, haven't been turning people over as much as they have. I think you need to use this as a game to really execute, right? Like, I want to see a game from the Ravens, kind of like the Chargers game, where from start to finish you execute. I want to see a game that's like clean, right? I want to see a clean game. No, I can't say no penalties. That's kind of a tough one to pick up, but minimal penalties. Let's say no turnovers, right? And the defense plays well. But like offensively, just try to get yourself going earlier this game. Figure out what it is that's slowing you down, whether it's penalties, whether it's you're not running enough drive starters, whether you're leaning too much on the run, whether you're leaning too much on the pass initially, who knows, right? Take some time to figure out, okay, this is what we can do to get this offense going like that, because obviously in the second half, they're flipping some sort of switch, right? In the second half of last week's game, in the fourth quarter of the Colts game, in the second half of the Chiefs game, you're flipping some switch. So figure out what that switch is and flip that switch at the beginning of the game, right? And let's see how good this offense can be. Because we talked about it before. The injuries have been ridiculous. Like we talked about before, Deshaun Elliott missing from the defensive end now because of the torn bicep and torn pec. And the injuries suck, but the injuries are a part of the game. And how do you respond to it? And, no offense to anybody else on the team, right? Because obviously there's talent on this team. Like from a Ravens fan perspective, there's talent on this team. They may not be up to the talent level of some of these other teams, or they may not have had the opportunities to prove that, but there's talent on this team. The difference between this season and like going back to like the 2015 season, which was just a horrible season where even Joe got hurt, is you still got your key guy there, right? I think if Lamar Jackson's in the game, he's dynamic enough to make every play in the book, right? So as long as you keep him upright, I think the Ravens will be fine, and I think they'll get better, and I think they'll start to mesh because there's new pieces, right? We talked about it before. There's new pieces. Like, it's hard to run this read option scheme when you got guys who aren't used to running this read option scheme, right? That's why they've had to change some of the run game too. Like, that's why you may not see as much read option in the scheme, because it's like there's literally guys they picked up off the street that hadn't ran read option schemes at all, right? Like, where was Lev Bell going to run, read option? Where's Devontae Freeman going to run read option, right? Now, maybe a little with Daniel Jones last year or whatever, but still, and that's maybe why they lean on him so much. Like, Tyson Williams has been in the offense, but obviously they don't want to use him. So my thing is, get your offense going early, right? It took me 15 minutes and 45 seconds to say this. Get your offense going early, right? Like, that's the big thing. Like, get your offense going early. Now, when it comes to the defensive end, we talked about it. Deshaun Elliott out for the year. This is Brandon Stevens' time to shine. They could sign somebody else. They haven't thus far. And even if they did coming into this game, it's going to be Brandon Stevens' time to shine. They may throw Jimmy Smith in there a little bit too, for maybe more coverage out there. But for me, defensively, it's just, once again, and I'll say it until they do it, stop the big plays, right? Make them earn every play, right? I don't like sitting back and letting them catch the ball and hoping to run up and tackle them. I'd rather you be in their face, but at the same time, like, don't let playing press coverage, don't let being in the receiver's face and jamming them at the line and all this get you beat, right? Don't let it get you beat. Limit the big plays, right? Tua's got big playability. Is Devontae Parker still healthy? I think he is, right? He's got big playability. Don't they got Will Fuller too, I think, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember where Will Fuller is, but there's some talent on the Dolphins team, right? Like there's talent on the Dolphins team, and it's like they can make big plays, and they have kind of their, they have their moments, right? They have their moments where they'll make some big plays here and there, but it's like, at the same time, like, don't let them make these big plays. Myles Gaskin is one of them who's gonna make big plays. That's right. Devontae Parker's on IR. I thought I saw that. Yeah, they lost a lot of their talent this year. They lost Allen Hurns and Devontae Parker this year. That's crazy. But like, still, they're going to find ways to make plays. Can you make sure you don't let those plays turn into 20, 30, 40-yard games? I ain't going to be mad if the Dolphins score and it took them 10, 12, 15 plays to do it, right? I'm hoping to see, given this offensive line situation in Miami, but I'm hoping to see a little bit more of a pass rush this week, just given the offensive line situation with them and everything like that. Let's see a couple more sacks this week. Let's see Odafe Oweh get back in, into the groove of things, get back into the groove of things. Let's see that, right? That's what I'm hoping for, but I think this defense will be able to tee off against the Dolphins offense. I have not been good at picking blowouts this year. I am going to say that the Ravens are going to win this game handily, because they should, right? They should take care of business. It's a business trip, right? This is the suit and tie, on the road business trip, right? This the business meeting, right? Like, go in there, take care of business, do what you got to do, and continue to be at the top of the AFC / top of the AFC North, and continue to do what you do, and I think, like, this could be a perfect game to find yourself. But they're one game behind the Titans in the AFC, because the Titans, of course, haven't had their bye week. So yeah, they're one game behind the Titans when it comes to, because it's Titans, Ravens, Chargers, Bills, Raiders, which I'm hoping somebody drops an unusual game this week. That would be nice. I know that the Titans matchup is not the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. I hope the Browns lose this week too. That would be nice to sneak a Browns loss in there, possibly get some AFC North teams losing this week. But when real quick, when I look at the schedule, the Bills are going up against the Jets. Do you really think the Bills will lose against the Jets? They could, but will they? Probably not. Right, going to the rest of the AFC, the Saints and the Titans, that's a tough game, but do you trust Trevor Siemian that much? I know I picked them in the picks, but I'm trying to come back at the same time. I'm 3 games back here. Like, do you go with that? Do you think that the Saints, like, this could be a tough week for AFC teams losing, right? the Jaguars and the Colts, which the Colts are pretty far down at this particular point in time. So, I don't think the Ravens are worried about them in terms of number one seed and stuff like that. But, the Titans, they got a tough one, but at the same time, you never really know. The Patriots-Browns game could be a toss-up. It could be, right? Are the Patriots good? Are the Patriots not? We don't know, right? We don't really know. We think the Browns are good, but they've had some games where they didn't really show up as well as they should have either, right? But at the same time, they've won some games that they needed to win. Last week, they needed to win. The game they played against the Broncos with it looked like no starter in sight, they needed to win, right? And they figured out a way to win that game. So, they could be in worse position than what they are. Chargers and the Vikings, that's a tough game for the Chargers. Will the Chargers win? I don't know. That's one of those games the Vikings will win though, right? They'll come out guns blazing and win that game. But it's just the AFC is literally a toss up right now. Nobody's really been that consistent. I feel like every good team in the league this year has taken a tough loss. Maybe with the exception of the Cardinals, right? But the way the league is going this year, it feels like every good team is taking a tough loss. The Buccaneers took one to the Saints. Of course, the Ravens took one to the Bengals. You can say the Bills took one. I mean, the Bills took one to the Steelers and the Jets. But because I don't even really even with the Ravens, I'm not even counting that week one game against the Raiders just because, and I guess that means I can't really count the Steelers against the Bills either. But still, right? Who knows? It's any given Sunday. It's one of those type of things. But I think the Ravens should win this game. They should take care of business on Thursday night and ease my weekend into effect. Ease me into a good weekend. Should be fun. It's funny. It's my dad's team, so I always pick with him every time the Ravens play the Dolphins. Because I remember, and I can't remember I think it was not 2019, but I think it was 2018, if I'm not mistaken. I think the Ravens had to play the Dolphins, or the Ravens could have played the Dolphins in the playoffs if the Dolphins made it, and I think the Ravens made it, but the Dolphins didn't, something like that. They were battling for that last spot, but always fun when the Ravens play the Dolphins. Should be a fun one, no matter what. I'm excited for the week. Also, for wrestling people, Full Gear is this week. If you're a wrestling fan, AEW Full Gear. Should be a good show. I'm gonna try to watch it. If I can get my girlfriend to let me, I'm gonna try to watch it. It's gonna sneak in onto the TV and just kind of glance at it every once in a while. So it should be fun. Because the last pay-per-view they had a lot of surprises, a lot of fun stuff. So that should be fun. Hopefully we'll get a preview out for that for you guys. For our wrestling fans, hopefully we'll get a preview out for that. Maybe during halftime of the game tomorrow. I really don't. And I don't know, we may have to do, something after the game. I don't know. It just depends. I don't want to stay up too late tomorrow night, but at the same time, that tomorrow will be the perfect time to get a Full Gear preview out for you guys too. So be on the lookout for that. Going to try to incorporate some sort of weekly wrestling video into this thing. Definitely. But as always, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like always, you can listen to us, Spotify, Anchor, Apple Podcasts. Also, you can watch us Facebook, YouTube, whichever one you prefer. Hopefully, you guys will be watching the game tomorrow. I don't know what NBA team plays tomorrow. I'm trying to think of what kind of competition Thursday Night Football got. Kind of competition Thursday Night Football got tomorrow. I know what Impact comes on tomorrow, which I haven't watched in a while, but looked like it's been pretty good. I'm wondering what NBA games, as I'm stalling at this point. I don't know if I'm just stalling to make this video longer or what I'm doing. But anyway, I don't know who plays NBA wise tomorrow. So who knows? Oh, Philly plays tomorrow too. They're just gonna put all my teams on tomorrow. Everything I want to watch is gonna be. I'm had the 3 screens. I'm had the 3 screens up. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. As always, we'll see you guys on whatever that next video may be. Until next time, AEW Full Gear preview coming soon, so stay tuned, wrestling fans. In terms of football videos, if you haven't watched the weekly picks, go back and watch it. should be the video or audio before this one. And also, Ravens recap coming soon. Hopefully we can get a Browns breakdown from Adam after they lose to the I don't even remember who they're playing anymore, but they're going to lose regardless of who it is. The Patriots. After they lose to the Patriots, we'll get a Browns breakdown. After the Colts lose to the Jaguars, we'll get a Colts collapsicle. And then the Chiefs collateral. I don't know. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed. As always, we'll see you guys on the next one. Until next time.